Oi, oi, hello and welcome to another GG.CO.UK video. This time we've got something a little bit different. I am going to talk you through the top 10 highest earning racehorses. These are correct as of a couple of months ago. There hasn't really been any changes. Well, I say really, there hasn't been any changes. We've taken these details, there'll be a link in the description from this, from idlehorse.com. They've actually listed the highest 50 earners. It's all been done in US dollars, so I'll be referencing them in the video. But it's actually interesting, I think, that so many of these horses are names that I do recognise, but there are definitely a handful that I hadn't really been so aware of what they achieved. I'm going to run through each of the 10, starting from 10, working our way up to the number one highest earner. You'll notice a bit of a theme through these 10 where the horses prolifically or predominantly raced. And with that said, let's crack on with number 10 in the list. Number 10 is TM Opera O, a Japanese racehorse. That's going to be part of the theme, who when he retired was the highest earning racehorse with just over $17 million in earnings. Now, he was active from the years of 1998 to 2001, and he held the title of the highest earning racehorse until 2013, when Orfevre won the Arima Canen. That's a race that lots of these horses had picked up that feature in the top 10 list. This horse was a very good horse throughout his career, but especially so as a 4-year-old. His victory in the Japan Cup that season was what saw him go beyond the $10 million barrier mark, which hadn't been done before then. This horse is just coming in at number 10. In 9, it is Almond Eye, another Japanese horse, this time a mare, and she still remains one of the greatest Japanese mares. She picked up the Fillies Triple Crown as a 3-year-old. In her 3-year-old season, she also capped it off with a win in the Japan Cup, a race she came back to win again 2 years later in a thrilling battle with Contrail. That was COVID year, where there was nobody in the stands. Quite an iconic moment from very iconic mare. She was active from the years of 2017 to 2020. Again, only number 9 on the list. She also had earnings in excess of $17 million. Just a few thousand or a few hundred thousand more than TM Opera O in 10 had. In 8, we have the one and only American runner, and it's Arrogate. This horse would have been another Triple Crown winner, I'm sure, had he have not made a later start to the season. Still, he was a prolific winner. He capped around $17.5 million in prize money and was a very famous horse for big battley duel finishes. There are a couple of his races that are races that you need to see to believe just how good they were. You kind of expect with prize money and horses dotted across the country, look, you get the names of American Pharaoh, you get the names of Justify. They were Triple Crown winners, but Arrogate, the late Arrogate, unfortunately, was one of the horses of our lifetime. $17.5 million is not to be sniffed at, but he only comes in at 8 on this list. In 7, we have another Japanese horse. It is Equinox. Circa $17.75 million in earnings. This horse isn't the highest earning Japanese horse, but he is certainly one of the best. He was one of these horses that was described as having the complete package. He was beautiful to look at. He had lots of early speed. And as is flat racing, he was beaten, but he was beaten by draws in a couple of races. However, the season after, when he progressed, even bad draws and bad luck in running couldn't stop this horse winning lots and lots of races. As I said, there's a bit of a theme in here with the Japanese horses, but as far as I'm concerned, Equinox may be 7 on the list, but he is right up there with one of the best racehorses of our lifetime. In 6, we have the Australian runner Winx. Now, she was never let out of Australia, which I think is a crying shame. She's a horse that actually ended up winning 4 Cox Plates. Previously, nobody thought that could be done. She won 33 races in a row. I think it was 25 Group 1s she won too. Now, she was visually a very impressive winner of a race. So sometimes she'd win the race almost hard held or on the bridle. At times she had to work real hard. A couple of races, I think she sort of fell out the stalls and had to get up right at the death to get those wins. And when you're building up those sort of sequences, especially with flat racing, it's phenomenal to see a horse continue to be able to win time after time. She received career earnings of 19 million US dollars. And as I say, she exclusively raced in Australia. She's got that world record for the number of Group 1 victories. She had that massive streak of consecutive wins in a row. I feel like she's one of the big names in this list that most of us will have heard of. But why didn't they let her out of Australia? In 5, it's another Japanese horse, Ushba Tesoro, a Dubai Gold Cup winner, coming with a wet sail. Now, this horse has over $19 million in earnings. Actually only recently retired in 2025. That last run, I think it was 6th in a Dubai World Cup, was enough to move him beyond Winks in this pecking order. And technically, he is actually still the Japanese highest earning horse. It just turns out, with us translating this into US dollars, most of his performances came in the years of 2023, 2024, when the yen had taken a massive decline in the conversion rates. So while he's only 5th on this list, he still remains as the Japanese highest earning horse, despite the fact that he's not the highest Japanese earning horse on this list in US dollars. Confusing, right? He was still a phenomenal racehorse. He danced every dance. He was very well placed in lots of multiple big named races. Ushba Tesoro, his victory in that Dubai World Cup was scintillating when he just came from the back of the field, picked him up and was well on top in the finish. 4th on the list is Off Evra, a horse that's appeared on this channel in the past when we've talked about the Arc de Triomphe, a 2-time runner-up in that Arc, with one of those defeats being a very narrow margin. Now, has earnings of $19.3 million, and with the Arc being such a high prize money race, had Off Evra won that Arc, he would have been one of the first horses to clear $20 million in earnings. Of course, he didn't do that. Still a phenomenal racehorse. Again, another one from Japan. But to see these types of horses coming over to compete in an Arc, which is a race that the Japanese are trying to target horses at and they are hoping to win, no one's come much closer than Off Evra. In 3 is Gentle Donna. This horse raced up until 2014. She actually held the #1 spot for a decade. She was a phenomenal racehorse, and she is officially the highest earning US dollar Japanese racehorse, and also the highest earning female horse on this list. Now, she was a Fillies Triple Crown winner in Japan too. She picked up that Arima Kanen as well, a race that has been quite prolific in the list of horses in this top 10. Like I say, she was about good time ago. So 2014 she finished. So a decade she held on to that top spot. Lots of the horses we've talked about have been a bit more recent. She was a phenomenal race mare. In 2nd place from Hong Kong is Golden 60. Now, he won 3 Hong Kong miles in 2020, 2021 and 2023. You can tell from the times of those victories that he was about during the pandemic. Now, he's described as one of the constants of that period of time. Obviously, there was lots of things that couldn't be done around then. And one of those big things was travel restrictions. So we were probably starved of seeing this horse go and race outside of Hong Kong. But he won 26 of his 31 starts in the city. He was a phenomenal racehorse. He topped earnings in excess of $21 million. A phenomenal racehorse, 2nd in this list and the 1st from Hong Kong. But it does mean that there is one better. #1 on the list, and quite a way clear in terms of earnings, is Romantic Warrior, who actually raced only a couple of months ago when 2nd in the Dubai Turf. Prior to that was 2nd in the Saudi Cup. But despite those 2 defeats, comes in at the top of the list with earnings in excess of $28 million US dollars. So at least $7 million clear of the next in this list. And that's with those 2 recent defeats too. Now, the maths on that, if he had have won both those events, would have put him on earnings in excess of $38 million US dollars. We're talking about fantasy money here. But this horse was a phenomenal racehorse from Hong Kong. He's raced in lots of different countries too. He wasn't just a domestic horse. He went to Australia. He won a Cox Plate after being beaten the time before, showing that to be a top racehorse, you don't have to have an unblemished record. To see him race as much as he has done, and up to now as a 7-year-old, has been an absolute treat for all the countries and all the people that would have seen him run. But by far and away, the highest earner in this list, and as time stands right now, is Romantic Warrior with $28.5 million. That wraps up this week's video. Like I said at the start, it is something a little bit different, but when we started to look at options to do things like this, like I say, there were so many horses in here I didn't really know that much about. Now look, I've paraphrased to keep this video as concise as I can. There is a link in the description for the idlehorse.com full written article for these list of 10. They actually have done the list of 50. If you've got a spare few minutes, I would say it's definitely worth the read. Who knows how many of these could become popular quiz answers and might win you a few pretty pennies in the future. Still, there's lots of good racing coming up and lots of good content that'll be coming up through the channel. We're going to be really steering towards Royal Ascot coming up. Only a few weeks away now. The Derby's upon us. There's lots of good flat racing coming up. So make sure you are liking the videos if you like the videos. Make sure if you can and you want to, you're subscribed to the channel. Drop a comment below if you've got anything positive to say, and we will speak to you again very soon.